started doing lymphatic drainage and you feel awful, like I mean truly terrible since starting lymphatic drainage, if this is you, you gotta watch this video because I'm gonna explain why that's happening and what you can do to slowly prevent that from being the case. All right, let's start by just doing a quick recap on what the lymphatic system is. So remember, the lymphatic system is our sewage system of the body. It's literally removing waste products from every tissue, gland, cell, and organ everywhere. Now, what can happen is if it becomes congested, if it becomes stagnant, waste products, toxins, even infectious material like bacteria, viruses, parasites, all of them ultimately just sit there and become gross. So I want you to imagine everybody coming over to your house for a party. And you all are using the same bathroom, but you're not flushing the toilet. The sink is clogged. So when you're washing your hands, water's starting to overflow. And little by little, the longer that happens, the bigger the mess, right? It means water's gonna start spilling over. You're gonna have a mess on the floor. You're gonna have waste contamination spreading from inside the toilet bowl and inside the sink to down the cabinets to on the floor to eventually in other rooms. Well, the same thing can happen in our body. If our lymphatic system isn't regularly flowing and moving out the waste products, what happens is it ends up breaking down and causing problems and damage in other areas. So we gotta make sure that things are moving. Now, this visual usually gets people to understand like, oh my gosh, if my lymphatic system hasn't been moving in a while and all of a sudden I start moving it, I might not feel so good because of all of the toxins and waste products that my lymphatic system now has to deal with. So some of the things that you might be experiencing are things like headaches. Really bad headaches. It might be dull, achy, to even sharp shooting stabbing. It could be you feel like the flu is coming on, like you're getting ready to just be like hit with a crazy viral infection. You feel nauseous, you feel achy, you feel hot, cold, you just don't feel well. You might even have things like congestion happening, like sinus congestion or postnasal drip. If you were achy before, you may feel extra achy now, and it's because everything is moving through. So remember, the lymphatic system, especially when it starts to go through the lymph nodes, the nodes are like your security team. It's ultimately like scanning everything. It's like taking those wands and like scanning everything that goes through to make sure that nothing is going to go through that's dangerous to you. So what can happen is it might actually elicit an immune response, meaning your immune system might become activated to all of the stuff that has been sitting in your lymphatic system that hasn't been moving, that hasn't been checked by the security system, i.e. the lymph node, and all of a sudden that lymphatic fluid is in the lymph node and the lymph node is like, oh my gosh, doing double time trying to figure out what is here and is it a problem. And if that's the case, it's going to elicit an immune reaction, meaning your immune system is going to become heightened to go and break down whatever is there, bacteria, virus, parasite, yeast, fungus, you name it. So you might actually feel like you're getting sick. It wasn't the lymphatic drainage that made you sick. It's the lymphatic drainage that's ultimately bringing the immune system to the attention of what was already in your body. Now, the other thing can happen too is if there's a lot of toxins and a lot of waste products in there and your body's having to filter everything out, it might just be a lot for it to handle. And so what happens is things just start to redistribute and get moved around. And that could also be the reason why you don't feel very good when you first start doing lymphatic drainage. So there's 3 things that I recommend that people do. And usually, if not one, but by the end of all 3, you start to feel better. Now, the very first thing is you might actually have to go a little slower. You might have to start with just opening up your termini and moving your body more. Literally just moving your body to contract the muscles to help the lymph fluid slowly start to drain. That might be all you can handle, especially if you're an individual that has a lot going on. If you have a lot of health concerns or a lot of health conditions that you're dealing with, that might be your best bet, is to start slow. Now, after that, the second thing we all have to do is make sure that we are hydrated. Because remember, Remember, hydration is the only way that we're gonna flush toxins out of our body. If we're dehydrated, we're gonna be struggling to remove the waste products because we just don't have the fluid to do it. So before you tell me, oh my gosh, I drink so much water, I pee all the time, that usually tells me that you're dehydrated, because if you're drinking fluid, you shouldn't be peeing every hour if you're truly absorbing it. So one of the things that I'm gonna recommend you do is, one, drink clean filtered water. Tap water's full of a bunch of other toxins, and I'm not gonna get into it in here, but drink clean filtered water, whatever that looks like for you, and add a pinch of quality salt to your water. Now, what I talk about when I say like quality salt, what do I mean? I mean Celtic sea salt, I mean Himalayan salt, I mean unrefined salt, like Redmond's. What I don't mean is iodized table salt. Iodized table salt is ultimately stripped of all the electrolytes and minerals from that salt. And that salt is actually the problematic salt for like 95% of the population. It's not the quality salts that I mentioned before. And why we need salt and why salt can help with water absorption is because we actually need magnesium in order for our cells to absorb the fluid, to absorb and take on water. So by putting a pinch of like quality salt in your water glass or putting it directly on your tongue and then drinking your water, you can actually increase your absorption of water and thereby increase your hydration very much so. Like, I don't know what fold, but I know that you're gonna ultimately start absorbing your water. And when you absorb your water, it means that you're also gonna be able to flush things out more easily. So 2, look at your hydration. And then 3, if you're somebody that has a lot of toxic exposures or you're dealing with a lot of chronic infections like Lyme, mold, Epstein-Barr, parasitic infections, or doing anything like heavy metal detoxing, you absolutely need a clean binder in order to do it properly. Now, when I say a clean binder, I'm not talking about just one binding property, meaning like bentonite clay or fulvic acid or humic acid or activated charcoal. What I personally like to take is I like to take a binder that has a bunch of binders put in it into one capsule. Reason being, each of those binders is going to have the capability of binding different toxins and waste products. So activated charcoal may be able to bind things that fulvic acid can't. And fulvic acid is going to bind things that bentonite clay can't. So having clean binder is going to allow the binder to absorb any of the toxins that are present in your body and prevent redistribution. Those 3 things really do help get all of the toxins and waste products out and also help you feel better while you're doing it. So if you want options for a clean binder, check the links below. I'm gonna post the ones that I personally use and that I have my one-on-one clients use. Make sure that, if you're looking into quality salts, it's not the iodized table salts. And if this information was impactful, if it was brand new to you and it's making a difference, 1, let me know below, but 2, please subscribe so that you can see and be exposed to more drainage support material as I'm gonna continue to pour into you how to support your drainage systems at home, what might be happening, and easy things that you can do to make sure that your body is able to both eliminate and remove and reduce all of the toxic exposures that you've been exposed to.